Assalamualaikum and a very good day. Today, me and my partner will present our topic on Noam Chomsky generative grammar. My name is Arshad bin Abu Bakar,
And my name is Muhammad Irfan bin Aznan.
and I will be the first presenter for this topic today. So, next slide please. To start off, a bit of introduction and background. So, the theory on generative grammar was first introduced by Noam Chomsky in the 1950s. This theory was based on the idea that all humans have an innate language capacity, which means that every human is capable of understanding the grammars in a language without actually learning about the grammar itself. Due to the concept of meaning of the theory itself, it has become a controversy among linguists around the world. Chomsky, alongside with other linguists, debated about this for quite a while, and because of this debate, the appearance of generative semantics occurred. So, what is generative semantics? Well, basically, generative semantics is about generative grammar that seeks to explain the concept of meaning, in which Chomsky argues that semantics and syntax must go along side by side. And Chomsky again stated that he insisted that the deep structure in a sentence is universally shared or innate capability of humans instead of depending on individual traits. So, if we take a few steps back, generative semantics is a research program that was pioneered by George Lakoff, John R. Ross, and James Macaulay. This theory of generative semantics was founded in the 1960s out of the transformational generative grammar. And as mentioned before, there was a debate between Noam Chomsky and other linguists during that time, and this debate was on those in favor of generative semantics and interpretive semantics. And because of how Chomsky viewed language as a system of rules, thus the transformational rules was created, whereby there are rules guiding the generation of words, and there are equally rules guiding the representations of these items, which are generated in the lexical items, or we call it as deep structure, and stick through phonology and syntax. Generative grammar sought to relate meaning with syntax and sound through a set of transformations from deep structure to surface structure. Meanwhile, generative semantics accounts for meaning directly without syntactic structure, which is generated directly from deep structures and transformed into recognizable sentences through transformation. And according to Chomsky, the deep structure of a sentence is equivalent to its semantics representation. What this means is that the surface structure, or we say syntax, is simply representing what is already derived in the deep structure. As mentioned before, Chomsky opposed the idea of generative semantics, and eventually he won this debate over other linguists. How he won is through his theory of innatism. Well, theory of innatism proposed that the meaning of language is generated in people's mind, and said mind consists of definite rules that converts different kind of sentences, and the meaning itself can be determined through deep structure. What this means is that meaning is derived from the deep structure, which is realizable through transformational rules. Hence, according to Chomsky, he portrayed deep structure as directly connected to meaning. That is all from me. I pass the floor to the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Irfan and I'm going to continue the presentation with Chomsky's standard theory. So, what is Chomsky's standard theory? Chomsky's standard theory is referring to the cumulative definition of a sentence is represented by the deep structure of the sentence and the lexical items used in that structure. Lexical items are introduced into syntactic forms at the level of deep structure itself, resulting the implementation of selection restriction. So what is selection restriction? Another question that we might wonder is what is selection restriction, and the rules governing the appropriate combination of lexical objects in language are known as selection restriction. So why were such rules created? So this is because this is due to the fact that these laws prohibit the development of meaningless and abnormal sentence. For instance, John drank his sandwich and took a big bite out of his coffee. And the second example is this sausage doesn't appreciate Mozart. And the example given all seem quite odd and not really acceptable except as a kind of joke because they violate selection restriction. Therefore, this emphasizes that the deep structure derives meaning and every item for the lexicons has the meaning that we intended. And moreover, selection restriction is very significant in helping us to prevent from making ungrammatical sentences where it only allows permissible combination of lexical items. Next. And Chomsky himself explained deep structure is the internalized lexicon where every native speaker of the language possess. According to Chomsky in 1957, deep structures in generative semantics theory are arranged to meet three several conditions, which are the first one is to determine semantic interpretation plotted into well-surfaced structures by grammatical transformation, and the third one is comply with the set of formal conditions defined by base rule. Next slide. We are going to look at where Chomsky also described deep structure is directly connected to meaning. This is where he explained and elaborated that semantics cannot be separated from syntax. As Chomsky stated, it is hard to distinguish semantics and syntax, and this is a difficult task to achieve. And to conclude, other linguists may believe that there are traits and differences between semantics and syntax. Nevertheless, Chomskyan theory and approach believe that meaning or semantics has relationship with syntax, where it explains that semantics is reliant on syntactic structure. And that is all from us. Thank you for hearing our presentation. Until we meet next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.